Beijing. We're joined by our Current Affairs Commentator, Victor Gao. Victor, tell us, what is China's perspective on U.S. Secretary of State Tillerson visiting China?
First of all, Secretary of State Rex Tillerson's visit to Beijing is very important. It's a landmark, and it happens against increasing tension on the Korean Peninsula. And Tillerson's visit is both substantive as well as procedural. Substantive in the sense that the new Secretary of State of the United States need to talk to the Chinese counterparts and meet with the Chinese leaders to exchange views on a whole range of issues, including the tension on the Korean Peninsula. Procedural in the sense that he is also working closely with the Chinese counterpart to pave the way for the first summit meeting between the new U.S. President, Mr. Donald Trump, and the Chinese President, Xi Jinping. And the expectation is that the state visit and the summit meeting between the two leaders of China and the United States will take place relatively soon. And this all bodes well towards more constructive and more stable development of China-U.S. relations in the days, weeks, months, and years to come. And this is also helpful in stabilizing the situation on the Korean Peninsula, but also very positive for a whole range of hot international issues that we are going through today.
Tell us more about how important this meeting is between the two.
Oh, definitely. These meetings are crucially important, partially because presidential candidate Trump or President-elect Trump or even President Trump during different phases, and the Secretary of State nominated Rex Tillerson before his assumption of the role of Secretary of State, made some very loud noises which are not perceived as very friendly to China by the Chinese government and people here. And for a while, even there was concern that the one China policy would be undermined. However, I think President Trump has reaffirmed the one China policy, which is considered as a red line. And now China and the United States can be freed up from these strategic concerns and move on to more constructive dialogue and discussions and negotiations between China and the United States, not only on China-U.S. specific issues, but on a whole range of international issues. And this is very helpful not only to China and the United States, but is also very, very helpful towards many countries in the world who do not want to see a split between China and the United States, who want to see a better and more stable relations between Washington and Beijing. Countries like Australia, for example, will be very much caught in between China and the United States if relations between Beijing and Washington deteriorate. Now, I think all of us can have a sigh of great relief, and hopefully Tillerson and his Chinese counterpart will continue to work very hard. And in his meeting with the Chinese President Xi Jinping today, I hope the two countries, the two leadership of China and the United States, can enhance their trust of each other and agree to do more constructive cooperation between each other. This is good news for China, for the United States, and for the whole world.
Well, Victor, tell us real quickly, do you think people are going to be more focused on the personal chemistry between the two of them and how they get along as an indicator of what the future meetings will be like, or will they be looking for more concrete details to come out of the meeting?
Both. I think both. For Rex Tillerson, whom I met many times when he was a senior oil executive, he did not have pre-existing diplomatic experience. However, he brought onto the table decades of solid executive experience, and oil is very much considered as a geopolitical asset to start with. Therefore, I think from the Chinese perspective, we need to understand him better as a person. We need to know how he would handle very sensitive diplomatic issues, and we'd also want to know him better in terms of his personality, style, knowledge base, and his vision for China-U.S. relations, his vision on very sensitive issues like the territorial dispute in the South China Sea, like China China-Japan relations, like the tension on the Korean Peninsula. And I think Rex Tillerson is not only the top diplomat of the United States, but he works very closely with President Donald Trump, who is, again, a very unique and very unconventional U.S. president to start with. Therefore, on the Chinese side, there is also a lot to learn about their personalities, their background, how they would deal with these very important, momentous issues of diplomacy and bilateral relations and international relations. But hopefully, through these negotiations and discussions, the U.S. side, including President Donald Trump, including Secretary of State Rex Tillerson, can understand the Chinese side better. There is no strategic hostility in China towards the United States. There is a lot of eagerness and desire to improve the China-U.S. relations so that both of us can work together and both of us can benefit from closer, more constructive relations between Beijing and Washington.
Victor Gao, thank you. Always great to see you live in Beijing.